If you're wondering how to navigate your business through some troubling times, I want you to watch this and listen to this lady and how she took the craziness and pivoted and turned it into a little mini empire. She turned into a mom boss. Let's get into it. How you can go from a stay-at-home mom, or you can go from someone who's never ran a business before, and how you can work through gaining the confidence to actually become a business owner, have a side hustle, a side income, multiple streams of income, whatever it is. And there is no person on the planet that I would rather be sitting down and talking to than you, because first of all, you're like one of the most special people in my life. But I'm really excited to hear, because when you decide to start your business, this is why you're on, Troy, because I can't talk to my sister without crying a little bit. But when you were when you decided to start your business, that was a big challenge for you. And I want to hear about that. So, well, we want to start with this. Troy, jump in at any time. Done crying for the rest of this video. Let's see. My testosterone's flowing through my veins. I'm a manly man. Okay, so let's go back to this right now. I want to know, like, you got married very young. You started having kids, and that was your role. So I want to know what it was like to be a young mom raising 4 kids and going through that. And then we're going to talk about this for a couple minutes, and then we want to move into this journey. We're not going to talk so much about losing Jared today. We're going to talk more about after that, when you started to invent yourself, what that was like. So don't cry. Let's start talking about being a young mom and kind of working through that process.
Okay. I feel like, as a young mom, my life was like definitely devoted to my kids, my husband, our farm. We own a farm. So that was my devotion. And I feel like kind of like during that time as a young mom, you kind of like lose yourself. And maybe other moms feel this way as well, because you give so much of your time to others and to the kids, the family, trying to build our farm together as a couple, that you kind of lose yourself as your individuality, I should say. So, I did things on the side for fun, but I think I lost like really like the talents I probably had, and just gave it all to my kids and my husband at the time. So when I lost Jared, my youngest son was then going to be graduating within a couple of years. And I knew that. And my husband and I were super involved with the kids' sports. They were involved with a lot of the things with the school. So we were always involved, and that's kept me busy as well. I wanted to be at everything that my kids did. Kept me very busy. But I knew with my personality that once Rylan graduated and once I lost Jared, I definitely knew at that point that I needed to do something for myself, just for my own mental health. And I didn't know I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. But then I kind of thought maybe I could just do like a little boutique, because there's nothing like that in the small community that we have. And we're about an hour from Bismarck, which is, kind of a drive for some people. And so I thought maybe a boutique. I kind of know fashion a little bit. I had never worked a day in retail in my life, but I thought mom taught us fashion, so I felt like I could probably do that. So I mentioned it to my husband, not just on a whim. And he's like, go for it. What's the worst thing that could happen? That it doesn't work. Honestly, that is all. That is all that can happen. Either it's going to work or it's not going to work. And who cares if it doesn't work? So just go for it. So I thought, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this like really small. So I was just going to start like a little tiny boutique in Linton, just open maybe a couple days a week, just to kind of get my feet wet, see what the women in the community would think of this. Man, that was like 5 years ago, and now it's kind of crazy. So it took off, and if it wouldn't have been for my husband to encourage me, I would never did this. And I have 10 girls that work for me now, and not all of them are married. Some are married. Sorry, if I get off track, just stop me. But I just said to them the other day, I said, girls, if you're choosing a partner in life, make sure you find one that encourages you to like spread your wings and like dream big. Because if my husband would have been opposite of that, I would have never did this ever in a million years. I mean,
I actually want to dig into a couple of things, honestly, because you said 2 things that I think that will resonate with a lot of the people watching this, and I'm going to watch the comments to see if you guys feel this way. But I know that even in my own experience, like our kids are making plans to leave the house, and I see this thing my wife's going through about she's poured in like more than anyone could ask, like her identity, her passion, she wakes up every morning and goes to bed every night thinking about how she can pour into the family and the kids, and she's finally getting a glimpse now of something after that. And you've been so focused, even though we knew it was coming, is you lose that identity. And you said it perfectly, that you almost lose sight of your gifts. And that's what we're trying to do with this framework, is say, hey, everyone's designed by God for greatness and a purpose. That's amazing. That was an amazing season of your life. But what's the next season? What is your gifting? What is your ability? So I'd like to see if that's a common feeling. Like, people feel like they lose themselves in their role as mother, wife, parent, whatever that happens to be. And then the other thing you said, which I don't even know if we have an answer for it as the three of us, but the amazing support you've had from your husband of like, hey, I have this crazy idea of this next chapter of starting this fashion thing with no retail experience, but I'm passionate about fashion. It sounds interesting. And I just want to give it a go. And you got the like, hey baby, go for it reaction. What's the worst that can happen?
Mm-hmm.
But I think many people get just the opposite. They feel something inside themselves, like, I feel called to do this. And instead of getting, hey baby, go for it, they get the eye roll. Or just, this is just another one of your crazy ideas, and you don't know what it's like to run business. And this almost, it's a different tone. It's a condescending tone. It's a bad tone. So I wonder so obviously there's something very healthy in your relationship. It's not just the human being. I mean, you guys must be amazing communicators. Like, what would you suggest? Do you have any suggestion for someone who has this dream in their heart? They have an idea to do a business, whether it's a home-based business or a brick and mortar business, and they're not getting the support from the key people in their life.
Gosh. I mean, maybe they can reach out to, like, if they don't get it from their spouse, like maybe even a friend or a relative, or, I mean, I feel like you still need that backup. You still need that push. Like, you can do this. Like, you really can do this. If you can't, like, think, like, if it's not in your heart that you don't think you can do it without that, I mean, maybe there's just a friend that can help you. I pray that my children have that from their spouses, because I feel like it was so important for me to have Rod, because it was also a financial thing. I mean, I really needed to, like, think about that myself. Like, I was worried about that aspect of it, because being on the farm, it's just a whole different, I never really had that job where I went out there and actually had this income for myself, if that makes sense. I mean, it's hard to know unless you, like, live on a farm and understand the profit, and it's just, farming is different all in itself. But gosh, yeah, they'd have to, like, find someone. So I don't even know, I don't have the answer myself, but even like a family member, a sibling, somebody to, like, give that extra push that you can do it. Or somebody, I actually just had a call today from a gal in Milwaukee. She's never owned a boutique, but she knows someone who knows me. So she called me, and I think I talked to her for an hour this morning, just encouraging her. And just, maybe it's a stranger who can encourage you, because I've never met this gal in my life. And I just was giving her tips about how I started, and I had no idea. I had never worked retail in my life, like I said. So maybe it's a stranger, who can encourage you and help you with questions that you have to start your dream.
I think the biggest thing, Troy, and I do want you to watch comments, and I do want you guys watching to ask questions on this, because I think this is going to be one of the most valuable topics that we talk about on Thrive Thursday. But I think, just bouncing off of what the net was saying too, what I'm seeing with this is, when you have that thing in your heart that you want to do this, like the net, and I want to go back to that in a little bit, the net, but you have this thing in your heart, like, man, I think I want to use this passion, or use this pain in your case, to really help other people. And I know what you were thinking, because you wanted to help moms look beautiful. I remember that was a big thing for you, is helping women look beautiful again.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, what you were saying is the cool part about all of this is that if you have that feeling in your heart and that purpose, like, man, this is what I'm designed to do. I want to help women look beautiful, or I want to help moms do this, or I want to help kids do this, whatever it is that you feel like you want to do. And you see the vision of a business around it, whether it's a home-based business or a brick and mortar business, and you don't have that support, don't let that stop you. Because in this case, in this situation, so much gratitude towards Rod for supporting you. But I know in ULA that we talk to a lot of men and women who don't get the support from their spouses. So the net said it perfectly. What you need to do is you need to lock arms with someone that can support you. And like the gal in Milwaukee, reaching out to you, a complete stranger, and saying, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. How do I do this? This is under the category in the ULA framework, 7 F's of ULA, 7 blockers, 7 accelerators. This is under the accelerator wisdom. It's gaining wisdom and working with people in your circle, building your accountability group to hold people in. So one of the biggest things I've learned just listening to this is that if you have an idea of a business, home-based business, brick and mortar business, whatever it is, or a purpose or a passion that you want to live out, if you are fortunate enough to have a spouse that supports you, like you've hit a home run. Honestly, you
Mm-hmm.
have. It's a big deal. If you don't give up, because this is where you reach out, you surround yourself with powerful people that can help you. And when I say powerful people, I'm not talking like high up people. I'm talking about people who actually have a heart to help you and love you and care about you, which we see in the ULA network so much. One of the most beautiful things I see forming with inside the certified ULA coaches is they're supporting each other and loving each other and helping each other get through tough times. But also, this is where you tap into that accelerator called wisdom, and you mentor up. Like, find someone that's actually 2-3 steps ahead of you, or in this case with this gal from Milwaukee, 5 years ahead of you, and say, what's it like to go from a stay-at-home mom to a boutique owner, and how do I do that? So I think that's one of the greatest things we can learn from that. What I want to go to right now is when Rod said go for it, I guarantee, I know you very well, I guarantee you didn't go like, yes, 100%, I feel so confident now. Like, this is going to be so easy. I guarantee you self-doubted and self-doubted and self-doubted until the doors open. And probably 5 years later, you're still going, should I do this? Am I good enough to do this? How do you get through that back then to get to this point where you own 2 boutiques, successful boutiques, beautiful boutiques? You put smiles on so many women's faces, making them look beautiful. 10 employees, which is amazing. But what were some of the challenges you had up front with this worth, self-confidence? Like, can I really do this? And how did you break through those challenges?
I feel like throughout the years I've learned, like, I think for me, just the fear of being a farmer's wife, and now how do I actually think that I can possibly do this? How can I possibly be a farmer's wife and a stay-at-home mom to actually being a boss of a boutique or an owner of a boutique, at the time, just an owner of a boutique? A lot of fear. I had a ton of fear, but I knew for sure that I was given enough talents to be like loving towards women, towards people, very inviting. I feel like I have an inviting personality, and I know that I have that. I want, when people come into my store, I want them to feel like they're walking into my home, because that's just how I feel comfortable. So that's me. And I think I've learned that being me is really okay to just be me and not try to be somebody else. So I think like the fear of that and getting over the fear that I'm really okay. Like, being me is okay. And I'm doing a good job at what I'm doing. Does that answer your question a little bit? Like, I feel like
it's perfect, because I think what we're talking about is, I think when people get an idea of being a business owner, they play a part of a business owner. They don't understand, instead of actually leaning in to who they are. So they almost act like someone else, like, I'm an owner, I'm a boss, I'm a manager, whatever. And what you're saying is what everyone needs to hear, by the way, is this is a time of self-identity. This is a time for you to pursue your passions and just become more of who you are authentically built to be. So you're loving and inviting and personable and a good host to people who come to your store, and you just became more of that, and that led to your success. People fail when they try to be someone else. They look at someone else running a successful boutique, and yes, it's good to get best practices and how to do merchant exchange and how to order things and, you know, display things. That's great. But if you change who you are in the process, you're not going to succeed. You actually become more of who you are, and you're going to attract people who are attracted to that. I actually think, in watching you, and I'm super proud of you and your success and this new season of your life, that's what Dave does. The same thing. He's just Dave, you know, like, I'm Dave, and you know, I'm just going to be me, and the people who are about that will be attracted to that, and the people who aren't will find something else. And that's a big part of your success. We see people starting home-based businesses who are so focused on becoming successful that they see other people doing it, and they become a mini me of that person, and it's disconnected from who they are. So I think that's great advice.
I just had a conversation this morning on my little walk and talk with a gal, and we were talking about exactly that. We were saying there comes a point in time where you know everything you need to know, and you have to just go all in on your own talents of who you are, and you can't keep looking outside. So it's always good to look outside for best practices in the standpoint of business and how people do things. But there comes a time in your life where you have to go inside and say, this is who I am. This is who God created me to be. And I'm going to go all in on that. And the other thing that's going to happen is when you go all in on yourself, number one, you're going to grow a bigger business by far, 100,000,000%. If the net was trying to be someone else, the net wouldn't be successful. Number two, by being transparent and authentic to who you are, you never have to fake who you are. You can just show up every day, very relaxed, and you're going to have stressful days at business and some not stressful days at business. but you never have to think that you're being someone you're not. You never have to think you're being an imposter in someone else. So that's what we really try to do with ULA so much, is we really try to, we at the beginning of ULA, remember this, Troy, like 6 years ago, we said, we're not smart enough to pretend we're other people. Like you'd have all these people on stages doing things and all these people on Zooms and lives doing things. And we're just like, we don't have the time, and we're not smart enough to try to be someone else that's doing a really good job on video. We need to just show up and do this and just be us. And if people like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. And and I'm going to talk to this a little bit too about your business going virtual, but when you live in today's age, you're going to find people, you're going to attract people that are just like you. So trust your gut, trust your talents, trust your God-given talents that are inside of you. Don't think you're not enough. Don't think you're not good enough. Don't think you don't have everything you need to be who you want to be in your business. So number one, if you don't have support, get it. Number two that we want to talk about, or that we just talked about, was just be you in your business. Go all in on who you are, your personalities, your gifts, your talents, and do that. But then we come to this point of like stuff you need to learn to run a business. There's stuff you need to learn tactically to run a business that, you can't just show up with a great personality and have bought in the wrong clothes, and you don't have the right, computer system or whatever. So how did you go from farm wife, which is what you say, which I think is a huge advantage. A stay-at-home mom is a huge advantage because that's multitasking times 50, or a stay-at-home parent. So you generate all these skills, which I want to also touch on a little bit before we run out of time. But when you first started, like, okay, Rod supports me. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go all in on me. What do I need to learn? And where did you sit with that? How much did you need to learn 5 years ago before you opened your front door and said, I'm open for business?
Like crazy. I didn't know what an EIN number was. I didn't know I needed a tax ID number. Literally, I did not know this. I did not know how I'm going to get the clothes in my store. I never have been to market before. I remember walking in, flying to Atlanta, not having a clue what I was doing, but I'm like, I got to do this. I know I can do this. And I went to market for the first time and walked up to the gal at the vendor, and I totally explained the story to her. She was the sweetest thing. Her name was Anna. I'll never forget it. And Anna totally walked me through what I needed to do for the next 4 days while I was at market. She was the sweetest thing ever. So she was my little angel that day. This is what you need to do. But starting, there was so much. That was so many challenges. Boy, you definitely grow through challenges, don't you? It's that's where I grew so much in the business aspect of it, because that didn't come naturally to me. So all that business part of owning the business was not natural at all. I learned a lot. Definitely grew from there a ton. So yeah, so just definitely.
Why did you keep going through when you go, what's an EIN number? How did you learn that? What's a tax ID number? What's
I think I called you.
I know. I think I
called you. I think I called you a lot to help me. Other people that.
What made you when you go to market? Think of the stress. Market is where all the clothes vendors are. So just for people that don't know, it's big, right? I've never been there, but you've just
17 floors. I remember going up the escalator and seeing 17 floors of little vendor shops. I had a little panic attack, grabbed a cup of coffee, and then went on my way. But it was scary. It was so scary. But I look back at it now and I just smile, because I'm like, I can't believe I did that. But I did it. Just, not really traveling much prior to that. But I did it. And I was so proud of myself. What's that?
How much do you love market now?
I love market. I'm so sad because through COVID now we haven't been able to go. So I'm so excited to go back. So hopefully we can go back soon.
Yeah. So what were some of the things that you did to push through when you wanted to turn around and walk back off the escalator and say, screw this, I'm not doing this? I know there was those days. What are some of the things you did?
Well, probably because now I had an expectation for myself that now I'm in, I have the building, my husband's behind me. I have a plan. The plan is written out. I can't back up now. I went to the bank. I got my first loan ever that I've ever gotten in my life. I've never done that by myself. Walking in, if I ever did that, it was definitely with Rod. So it was the first time I ever did that myself. This is my responsibility. I don't want help, from him to help me financially. Just I knew that I had the plan in my head, and I knew it was down on paper, And at that point, I did not want to like give up on that little dream I had. And I didn't want to like disappoint Rod because now he's helped me this far. So maybe that, and just even to show my children that mom can do this. You know, even though she doesn't have a college education in business, I don't have a college education in fashion, but I still can do this because I'm learning and I'm asking questions and I'm Googling and calling friends that own businesses, kind of like what the little Milwaukee girl did today. So that was nice. It was fun for me to give back to what other gals did for me to start out.
Yeah, and that was the word I was looking for, is getting super resourceful.
Yeah.
And some people have a little analysis paralysis and they stop. And that was really the third point I knew that we would get to today, is because I saw you get super resourceful. You did call me for business stuff and how to set up a website and all that. But it was, I mean, I was a small part of who you talked to and who you worked with and what you did. But you had to break through fear by getting resourceful and just having that courage to go talk to an accountant for the first time. I remember that.
Yes.
Talk to and start to line up your team of who's going to help you. So for everybody watching, I know, Troy, you have a little question coming in too, but for everybody watching, just to kind of recap where we are, you go from this lack of confidence, but you have a purpose and a passion of wanting to start a business or really wanting to put your name on something, your own personal brand. And you have to go through this phase where you have to gather support around you. You have to get that support around you. And if it comes from home, great. But if it doesn't, don't worry. There's other things you can do to gather that support. And then you have to just go all in on you and do exactly what you want to do and who you are. But then you have to get ultra resourceful. Don't stop because you don't know how to get an EIN number, or you don't know how to start a website, or you don't know how to do it. And then the other thing that I just want to just double down on is then take action on it. We have a lot of people that I know that are like, I'm going to start a business. And you talk to them 6 months later, like, I still haven't started that website. I still haven't launched the website. I'm just looking, I'm kind of seeing what's out there. You have to take action and do it, because you didn't get into analysis paralysis. That was one thing I saw that you were really good at, which I don't know if you know much about, but you took action on it. Like, you're like, what 7 things I'm going to do today? What 7 things I'm going to do today? What 7 things I'm going to do today? And you just worked on that. And that's a natural gift that you have. Like, you're a worker, like you're just a, like, you know, but some people struggle with that. So if you're struggling with that part, write it on a list and check it off. Write it on your note card and check it off. 3 things a day, 3 things a day, 3 things a day for your business to move yourself forward. Sorry, Troy, I kind of interrupted you.
No, I just think that this is a living example of the framework, the Google Lifestyle Framework, because in the 7 key areas of life, the category of field, which is what you devote your life to most of the hours of the day, it went from stay-at-home mom, and you had to reset a goal. You had to say, okay, kids are out of the house. My identity has been this, and you reset. Like, I'm passionate about fashion. So you pick something you're passionate about, but then you ran into blockers. Like, you ran into fear. Like, I'm not college educated. I don't have a degree in fashion. I don't know what an EIN number is. And you also ran into some self-doubt, you know, which is like self-sabotage. Like, maybe I'm not capable to do this. And then you tapped into an accelerator called discipline, and you took action every day, which is like the 3 steps every day. I still think the most intriguing part of this, and maybe I think it's because we run into this so much with the people we coach and the people our coaches coach. I think it's super intriguing that in your case, you had the support of your husband. Like, the people, they love you the most, but a lot of people, they have this thing in their heart. They just know they feel pulled and tugged to do something. And the people nearest them are not supporting. In fact, they're pushing those sore spots. They're saying, you don't have a degree in fashion. You don't have the ability to run a business. You have no experience in this. And then people retreat. And I think what we found out in just you telling your story, if it's not your spouse or your kids, it's an Anna from Atlanta, or it's you with Michelle from Milwaukee, or calling Dave, who has experience in EIN. What I think people run into some resistance in their first ring, and they retreat and they go, oh, I guess that's not for me. And what your advice was actually great advice, that what you'll find in small business and people, whether it's home-based business or whether it's brick and mortar, is people love talking about business and mentoring other people, because they remember what it's like the first time they walked into a fashion buying, whatever that's called, like where you go buy clothes, or the first time they had to go sit down with a banker, the first time they had to get an EIN number, because it brings back memories of, yeah, I remember doing that. Let me help you through that, because I've been where you've been. And then someone, you have 2 boutiques, there's someone who has 12 boutiques who'd love to talk to you and say, you know how I scaled this? I built in process and I built in systems. And let me, you know, that's a great thing. I think what I found in the business world, which is not what people talk about with business, people say it's sharky and it's this. There's a really nurturing community of home-based business, especially small businesses. Small businesses are people that see you passionate about something. And I get as much success or like as much personal joy seeing someone else succeed at this stage in my life as me succeeding. You know, when you see some young entrepreneur who's got shiny white eyes, like with this big vision, it's like, I love investing in people who want to do big things in the world. So I think if you're not getting resistance, or if you are getting resistance at home, just seek out people and find a team of mentors who are 2 steps ahead of you who can pull you through.
This is just such a great conversation. I really just want to wind it down by saying, what are you like most grateful for in being a business owner? Like, what do you see as some of your greatest accomplishments, or what you're most grateful for inside?
I feel like I'm so grateful for like the confidence level that I have gotten through all of this. Like I was told, and I'm sure there's a lot of other young gals out there that want to start a business and they're told that they can't do this or can't do that. I was told that an online store will never work, an online business will never work. And to push through and to actually make that happen, and it's just so much of a confidence booster for me. I know for sure that I can do whatever I want at this point. I know if I decide that I don't want to be a boutique owner, but I want to be an author, or I know I can do that. I never knew that about myself until the last probably 3 years. So I feel like I'm so grateful that I've learned that. I'm grateful that I grabbed onto that and I have that for myself. I'm grateful for obviously my family and the community for even trusting in me and believing in me. So there's just so much gratitude through all this. I've grown so much. When you asked me that question, Dave, I asked my daughter, Kayla, who's here today, I'm like, what have you seen a change in me? And the first thing she said was strength. Like, you've always been strong, Mom, but you were always strong as a mom, but you are now strong, like as an individual woman. You're a strong business person. You're just more strong. So I thought that was a great compliment to get from her, because my kids saw me do this. So
what's it like
does
for
that
you
answer your question?
Like 1,000,000%, like the best answer ever. What's it like for you when you help a customer look beautiful?
I love that so much, because I think for me, I had a gal. I could go on and talk about this, because lately there's been so many stories where I have the Bismarck location, the Linton location, and I was in the Bismarck store probably about a month ago, and I happened to run into a gal who was trying something on. So I approached her. We had our masks on, so I couldn't really see her but her eyes, and she could only see my eyes. But we felt like kind of this initial connection, and we just talked. And we ended up just talking about life. It wasn't even about the clothing that she was putting on. It was just about life. She wrote me a letter and she sent it to me, and it was the greatest letter, just about when she's like, when I walked into your store and I talked to you, it was an experience. And she said, you just don't get that nowadays as much anymore. And she's like, I love the experience that you made me feel so comfortable. And when I left your store, you made me feel beautiful. And I'm like, that is like the best compliment you could give me, because that's really what I want. It's really what I want. I want women to feel, no matter what age, no matter what size, no matter what, that they're beautiful. So if they can walk out of my store and feel that way, that's like so great for me, because that's so important for me. So that was great to get that letter from her, because I'm like, that's what I worked for. So thank you for that letter. So
You are such an amazing person. I just don't even know what to say. I'm kind of a mess, so Troy, you might have to close
No,
this.
it's just you're a beautiful soul. Like, everybody give her like a thumbs up or a heart for being on today.
Oh,
This is what we want to do, is feature people on Thursday who are just out there doing it, whatever they're pursuing their passion, being authentically who they are. And I think the big side effect is who you become in the process. You know, your customers benefit, but you benefit by gaining confidence and strength to feel an invincibility. Like, if I can do this thing I knew little about and nothing about, I can do anything. And that is powerful. And that's the power in a business.
One thing I'm going to say as we wind this up is that your journey is never over. And it just isn't. No matter what you're going through, where you are is just where you are. It's not who you are. And who you are is you're designed by God for greatness and a purpose. You have this amazingness inside of you. Don't let anybody steal that from you. Don't let your own insecurities, don't let something that you heard from someone 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, telling you you're not good enough. Don't let that steal your purpose to help other people. And in my sister's case, feel beautiful again and feel better. And the ripple effect in that I know you don't see because you're in your business is when you make a woman feel beautiful or a man feel handsome and good and feel better, that trickle effect into their family, because they go home and they act different in their home to their spouse and to their, they feel better about themselves. And if they feel better about themselves, all of a sudden that was just that little piece they needed to start their own business or to start their own journey or to go on that date. So the impact that you have is just so immense. And for everyone watching, don't let that impact to make the world a better place, which we need so much right now. Don't let that impact be squashed by anything that's going to try to hold you back. You have to break through, and you break through by surrounding yourself with great people that support you and love you. They're out there. Don't think they're not out there. They're out there. There's amazing people that'll love and support you. You do that by going all in on your God-given talents, and you do that becoming ultra resourceful and taking action on that. And when you tap into that and you tap into your why, that's how you start to change lives.
Thanks for hanging out with us on YouTube. And if you're looking for more balance, growth, and purpose in your life, check out this video right here.
Also, be part of this amazing community by subscribing below.